everyone, and welcome to Unit 3 on argument. Before we get started, it's very important to agree on what we mean by argument because I understand that each one of us has their own understanding and meaning of the word argument. So we all need to be on the same page before we start working on Unit 3. So, what exactly argument is? Some people might think that like this image is a good representation of argument. People are fighting, people are using loud voice, maybe strong words or bad words to disagree or enforce their understanding of one idea on the other. So, is this really argument? We'll see. Or this one. Again, people are being loud, people are fighting, people are, as some of us may say, oh, they are arguing, maybe they are quarreling, maybe they are fighting, maybe they are just yelling at each other, screaming at each other. Is this really an argument? I don't know. And then this, pointing fingers and insisting on calling the other person or the other people or the other group names. You're an idiot. You don't understand it. No, you're an idiot and you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm right and you'll see that. No, 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 no. You're absolutely wrong and you'll see that. So, is this an argument? Are these images good representation of what we mean by argument? If this is the argument that we'll be talking about in Unit 3, absolutely not. Argument is basically a form of conversation, a rational conversation, a logical conversation, a decent conversation, definitely a civilized conversation. Everything else that you've seen in the picture that I just showed on the screen are not argument. These, even if somebody believes that this is an argument, no, these are not forms of argument. Argument is conversation. Argument is persuasive discussion. I'm trying to persuade somebody or some group or a teacher or a colleague or my parents with something. I have an opinion. I'm trying to persuade others with it. So I'm having a discussion with that person or with these people. I'm having a conversation with them. I'm not quarreling, I'm not fighting, I'm not calling uh, them names. I'm not pointing fingers and insisting that I'm right. I'm just trying to persuade them with a certain idea or certain opinion. It's a rational inquiry. In order to make sure that your argument is good and sound and valid, you have to do some research, you have to do some reading, you have to dig deeper in order to know, is this really a good idea? Is this really valid? Or is this just a lousy idea that I cannot support and I cannot make anybody believe in it or be persuaded by it? So it's rational. It means that you have to think about it. You have to use your reasoning, your mind, your brain, your logical reasoning. Remember what we talked about in Unit 2 of the rhetorical devices, and we said that logos mean the logical appeal. Can you talk to somebody logically, rationally? Can you do some research or inquiry so you can support your argument and make it valid and make it sound and make it persuasive? This is argument. Argument is also coherent. What does this mean? Coherent means it all makes sense. If you say an idea and you support it, the support must actually support the idea. It shouldn't be something random. It shouldn't be something illogical. It shouldn't be um, something that doesn't make any sense or something that somebody can wait, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. What you're saying is not relevant to your idea, to your opinion, to your position. So it has to all come together And this is something that you read about more in Rebecca Jones' article that we're reading this week, or we're reading parts of it this week on argument. A position from many. They told us in high school, or they taught us in high school, that argument is pros and cons. You just pick one side and this is it. You're good to go. Either the pro or the con, and you all have to just keep talking about that. Agree or disagree, and that's it. No, it's not that simple, unfortunately. I mean, I wish it were. That would have made our life much easier, but it's not. Argument means that every topic, every idea, every situation in life has different angles to look at, had different perspectives to look at it from, had different lenses to see that topic from. And in argument, you choose one of these positions, one of these perspectives, one of these lenses to look at that topic from. So it's not black or white. We have all shades of gray, not the movie or the novel, please, okay? So we have different positions. People have different opinions about the same thing, the same person, the same policy, the same law, the same incident. And you just pick one of these positions, and this is going to be your argument. I'm going to argue that this position is the right one. And then it has to be unarguable or debatable. If nobody can disagree with your opinion, with your argument, it's not an argument, it's a fact. If nobody can say something against your position, it's not an argument, it's a fact. Or it's pointless or worthless. So nobody will come and say, I disagree, or I have a different opinion, or I have a different perspective, or I have a different position. So it has to be an arguable and debatable position. And we'll talk more about that next week when we start talking about thesis for your argument essay. Okay? So an argument has to be persuasive discussion, it has to be a rational inquiry, it has to be coherent, it has to be a position from many, and it has to be arguable and debatable. Wait a minute. So what is not an argument? As I said, it's not a conflict, it's not a fight, it's not a quarrel, it's not calling each other names, it's not stubbornly saying that my position is right without any support. Okay? I'm not picking a fight here. I'm just trying to lay my argument and make it clear and try to persuade others with it. This is it. It's not winning versus losing. I'm not trying to win here. The purpose is not to win, the purpose is to persuade. So approaching argument with that mentality of winning versus losing, like I won. This is in debates. This is in elections. This is in choice. But if I'm just trying to lay my argument, I'm just trying to explain to you why my position is sound, why my position is right, then I'm not trying, it's not winning versus losing. If you convince me that your position is better than mine or is more logical than mine, and I change my situation based on your argument, or I change my opinion, I change my choice, I change my perspective. It's not winning versus argument. It's just like you were successful in your argument and I wasn't as successful. And of course, as I said earlier, it's not two-sided versus one-sided. So it has more than one side, and it has actually more than two sides. It's not just black or white, it's not just pros and cons. So this is what argument means. Let's look at these examples. This is an excerpt from somebody who talked to a cohort of new students in college. And this is what that says. In my welcoming remarks to the class of 2018, I told the students three things. Always ask for help, make friends, be engaged. And then he explains why. So Always ask for help, overcome your shyness and pride. It's okay if you don't know, just ask. So this is more explanation of the first part of his argument, that always ask for help. Don't just be shy and uh, think that you can figure it out on your own. And this is very true for you as this is your first semester in college, or some of you are still in high school and will be starting actual college later. Make friends. That's a very important part of what college is for, long lasting friendships. Okay, so here, the author here is making an argument. Always ask for help. Why? Make friends. Why? Be engaged. How? Join a club. And if no club is to your liking, start a club. Uh, I recently had a student from a previous semester who started a club for African students on campus here at AUM. Prepare a budget and a list of activities for that club. Make sure that you know where the career services office is located. This is something for you to be engaged at, or how to be engaged on campus. Build your resume through activities, through clubs, organizations, internships, work study program. You have a lot of activities to engage in and to build your resume at the same time. So each of these three arguments here, each one has not just an idea, ask for help. It's like how or why or what to do this. And then the last part here, and yes, it is personal attention that touches students' lives. The caring, the mentoring, in particular for girls and underrepresented minorities. Without mentoring, they are disengaged. The results, they lose interest and can commit. So this is a conclusion of this argument, and how to ask for help, make friends, and be engaged is important because it's part of the personal attention that students need, especially in their first semester in college. Now, here's another example of an argument. Higher education must also provide values throughout the academic process. On a curricular level, more courses should seek to engage with the moral dimension of the subject at hand. This is the argument. This is what the author believes in, that more courses should seek to engage with the moral dimension of subject. And then the second paragraph is kind of explanation and expansion on this idea and giving one particular example. Universities should provide students with opportunities to engage in meaningful service learning beyond the walls of the university, using their knowledge not only to advance themselves but others as well, and broaden their horizons in the process. They should seek to foster a sense of community, bound not merely by a shared desire for rivalry, but also by higher notions of responsibility. So, this is the moral dimension of the subject that the author mentions in the first paragraph as their argument, how to engage students with the moral dimension of the subject. Here is talking about community service or service learning beyond the walls of the university. We'll learn more in part two about the components of an argument. It's not just in my presentation, but in the second part that we're reading in Rebecca Jones' article, the second excerpt, which is pages, if I remember rightly, 168 to 171. Okay, now this is a short video about school lunches. I'd like you to watch that video and then identify the argument, and then you'll add the argument to your discussion number 10 for this week. So make sure that before you start your discussion that you have watched Moxley's Rogerian argument video and you have read the first part of Rebecca Jones' article, and you have watched this video and then like my video, and then watch that video from New York Times about school lunches, and then based on everything you've read, what's the argument in that video? Okay, This is the end of the first part, the first video on argument, and there is a second part in which we'll talk more about the details of argument. See you in the second video.